Hey everyone, this is Sandip back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to talk about a really trending and really important topic called micro-frontends. So if you have heard of microservices, which is more on the server side or backend side, you might have heard about creating microservices in Java because in most of the banks or most of the enterprise applications, right? They use microservices to create their backends. But UI, user interface, is not lagging behind. Micro frontends are also picking up in the market. So we are in 2022, and if you don't know what are micro frontend, you're definitely lagging in terms of technology. So in this video, I'm going to give you a getting started guide or a quick start guide into micro frontend. The entire session, some theory will be there, but the entire session will be having a practical example. So we are going to create a really simple micro frontend application using pure JavaScript that will give you hands-on, that will give you the idea like how to create micro frontends using on the user interface side using JavaScript. And you can apply the same knowledge, same hands-on experience using any framework also. Like you can use React, you can use AngularJS. So micro frontends are basically technology agnostic. So that's it. I think that's a quick intro. Let's jump into the coding. I'll cover a brief about micro frontend, and then we will create a very simple app that will give you the idea how to create micro frontends. So let's jump into my presentation, and you see here, right? So I have this. So I want to give you some background. I want to start with that. So say suppose you want to create a shopping application or an e-commerce application, right? So, or any application. When you start creating that application, you divide that application into modules, right? So in case of shopping application, we can have a product module where we're going to show the product list. There will be a feature of searching the product, and you're going to write the entire code related to that product inside the product folder. Next could be the cart module, right? So inside cart, so I'm going to select or I'm going to search for some product, and then I can add those modules into the cart. So basically, we take a big application and we divide that application into small pieces so that some one team can work on one module and the second team can work on the second module. You can have different modules like the payments module, maybe the admin module for administration of product. So you can divide your application into modules. Now this is a traditional way, or this is the way we follow. We create applications nowadays also, and previously also we used to create applications this way. But nowadays, or maybe I would say nowadays, or a couple of years back, micro frontends has picked up its space into the market, right? So we can take the same analogy of modules, right? And we can divide those modules into something called micro frontends. So each module can become a separate app. And there are advantages and disadvantages to it. Obviously, complexity is going to increase because you're creating multiple applications out of those modules, but you're going to gain so many advantages. Like take the example of our e-commerce application. So I've converted into that this e-commerce application into micro frontend, so we can have a container that will be our main app as one of the micro frontend. Okay, then we can have a product as another micro frontend, and then cart as another micro frontend. So basically I have three different micro frontend app, or I would say two different modules, and container is basically a shell which is going to consume, which is going to combine these two different micro frontends together to represent or to show the entire application. Now when you use micro frontend, right, you get the advantage of one team working on the product micro frontend, and the second team is working on the cart micro frontend, and maybe the third team, or any number we can use, right, working on the container project. So you can divide your project into multiple micro frontend applications. So these three are separate application, And the main and the most important advantage is, right, you can have a separate CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment, right, for each application. This is the major advantage. This is what is happening in nowadays. Everything is going on cloud, right? So having the container as a separate application, product, cart, maybe payments, administration, those as a separate micro front-end app are going to help with deployment also. So this is a brief theory I wanted to cover about micro frontend, which will give you some motivation or some interest to learn about micro frontend. So we are going to learn micro frontend step by step, and we are going to take the example of our shopping app only. So I'm going to create the product micro frontend first. So we are going to have a product as a separate micro frontend project. Then I'm going to create the cart micro frontend project, okay, and then finally we are going to create the container which is going to contain the cart and the product micro frontend. So product can run its own on its own. The team which is working on product can work on it, they can run it separately. Same thing can happen with cart also. And finally we are going to combine product and cart together into the container. And even, I mean, container can have a separate team and they just aggregate different micro front ends together. So I think that's it. Let's jump into the coding, because that's the important agenda, the important thing about this video. So I'm going to go back to my folder. So I have this micro frontends folder created. Inside that, I'm going to create a new folder called shopping app. Inside shopping app, I'm going to create 3 different folders. So I'm going to start with products first. So I'm going to create products as my first micro frontend. And this will be our JavaScript application basically. So I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to open new terminal at this particular folder. And I'm going to run this npm init with some default arguments. So I'm going to say yes, and this is going to generate my package.json file. So I have this package.json file for the products micro frontend. So now I'm going to open this products and I'm going to open the entire shopping app in my favorite code editor. So I'll go to my this folder, this one, and I have this micro frontends, right? So inside my micro frontends, I'm going to go into shopping app and I'm going to open this shopping app folder, which is going to have a products. And see that this is our package.json file. Now I'm going to install some of the dependencies for this project. So you can, we are going, actually I'm going to install the latest version of all the dependencies considering one, but I would suggest, you can use my package.json file and use the npm install command to install the dependencies, because I don't know when you're watching this video and there's a possibility, right, some of the versions may not work in your machine while you're coding, right? So it depends when you're watching this video. So you can follow along. So I'm going to install, first of all, I'm going to install Webpack. I'm going to use latest version of Webpack. Then I'm going to have Webpack-CLI. This is another dependency. So Webpack CLI. I'm going to have Webpack-server also. And the next one will be HTML Webpack-plugin. So this is another dependency. And finally, I'm going to install Faker. Now I'm going to use Faker, specific version of Faker. There is a reason behind it. Somehow, the latest version of Faker is I wanted to use, but that's not working the way I want it to work. So I'm going to use 5.2.0. So this is the version of Faker that I'm going to use. So let's run this command and I'm going to say save dev. So this is going to install all of these dependencies for my products micro frontend. So let's wait for some time and it should be quick, I believe. See that? So all the dependencies are installed and you see the different version numbers, right? So it's using the latest version as of now. But I would suggest, when you are installing all these dependencies, you just go to package.json and you will get all of these dependencies inside a dev dependencies object. I would suggest you go to this products folder, copy this package.json file, and use the npm install command. Npm install command, and that will install all the dependencies from the package.json file. So I'm going to clear my console. So I have my products dependencies installed. Let's start some coding into it now. So first of all, I'm going to go into products folder and I'm going to create a source folder. Inside that source folder, I'm going to have my index.js file. And for now, inside my index.js file, I'm just going to put a console.log. And inside that, I'm going to say products. Save. So now I want to run this index.js file in the browser, right? But I cannot directly run this index.js file in the browser. I mean, I can run it, but I need the HTML file so that I can embed this index.js into HTML file. And we need to produce the output, right? We are not going to run this index.js file directly into the browser. We use webpack for building our project. That's really important. If you don't know, I'm not going to cover everything about webpack. So we use webpack to build our project basically, because we are not going to have just one index.js file inside our project. We are going to have tons of files, and we need to combine all of those files into one file. That will be the output file which will be produced by webpack, and we use that bundle, or we use that one file into our index.html. So I'm going to create a folder, not inside the source actually, inside product. I'm going to create a folder called public. Inside that public, I'm going to have a index.html file. So this will be my template, which I'm going to use inside my public. So I'll just put some HTML5 here, and let's call this one as product or products. And I'm just going to have one div here, because I'm going to use this div later on with the ID of product 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 list. I'll say product list. So I'm just going to keep this div because I'm going to use this div to render my product or product list. Okay, so I'm good with my index.html. Now I'm going to create one more file called webpack.config.js, and this is the file which I'm going to use to build my project. So there will be I'm going to write some configuration values which will help me build my products micro frontend. So we use exports, and this will have an object. Inside that object, I'm going to put some properties. So first one will be, my mode will be development, because I'm in the development mode. I'm not deploying it to production. That's why my mode is development. Next, I'm going to have my dev server configured. So I will have something for dev server also. So I'm going to use a port. So this is my product, right? So for my product, I'm going to use 3001 as a port. Okay. And I want to show, or I want to put, so webpack, what webpack is going to do basically, I just want to show you. So this is my webpack configuration file. Now I'll go back to my package.json, and here instead of test, I'm going to have, or let me start from scratch. I'll have a start script. So when I'm going to say npm start, I'm going to run this webpack command. Okay. So I'll go back now. So you see here, right? Right now I have node modules, public, source folder. Now I'll go back to my terminal, and I'm going to just say npm start, and you'll see something happening, right? So it has built the main.js file, if you see here, right? So if I come back to my code editor, see that it has created this dist folder. So this is like a production ready or a minified version of my index.js. So if you come here, right, you see that our console.log. So what basically it does, Webpack is doing, it's taking, so right now I have one file only, but maybe it will take all the files of my project. It's going to combine together and it's going to produce a single output. Okay, so I have this main.js, but I'm not going to run this main.js file. I want to run this index.html file, and I want to put this main.js file inside that index.html file. And how can I do that? I can take help up. Today's world is of automation, right? So I can take help up my Webpack, right? And Webpack has something called, and which I have installed as a dependency also. If I go back to my package.json file, you see that HTML Webpack plugin. So we are going to use this HTML Webpack plugin. So I'm going to create HTML Webpack plugin, and I'm going to say require HTML, not this one, HTML Webpack plugin. So this plugin, so I can inside my Webpack, I can use multiple plugins. So this plugin is like, some kind of a helper class or a uh, helper plugin, I would say, which is going to help us, to have this main.js file injected automatically inside my index.html file. So if I'm not doing anything wrong here, right, HTML Webpack plugin, require HTML Webpack plugin. Now I'm going to configure some of the plugins here. So plugins is nothing but array, because you can use multiple plugins to automate your build process. So I'm going to say plugins, and I'm going to instantiate new HTML Webpack plugin, and I'm going to pass some configuration values to my HTML Webpack plugin. So that will be just one, that is template, and my template is inside my public folder, and that's index.html. Now this plugin, this HTML Webpack plugin, is going to use this path. So it's going to go into my index.html, and it knows, right, the Webpack knows from where it has to pick the output, the JavaScript output, that one file, right, this main.js. So it's going to use this index.html, and it's going to add this main.js file inside this index.html file. So this is a brief introduction about Webpack. Actually, this is what we need from the Webpack perspective. I think I would say my product micro-frontend is a bit ready. Now let's run this. So now I'm going to run this inside a server. So to do that, I'm going to just add Webpack serve, and it's going to wrap my application inside a server, and it's going to run on that particular server. So again, I'm going to clear my console, npm start, and now for using serve command, you need to install Webpack dev server package. Okay, I didn't install Webpack dev server. Oh, I have installed Webpack server. I need to install Webpack dev server, and somehow I see my Webpack CLI is giving me hint. So I'm going to say yes, install Webpack dev server. Let it install, and then we are going to run our npm start command. I really like it. I mean, npm is getting smarter. Now see that it has installed and it has ran also. I mean, such a beautiful thing happened. So we have our Webpack dev server also, and our application is running. If you come here, right, our application is running. If you come on the top, it's going to tell you, right, where the application is running. If you see here, right, it's running on localhost 3001. Nice. I'll go back, and I'm going to run my application on 3001. Now you're not going to see anything because I haven't added anything. So if you go to console, see that this is our output, the console.log. Now we have an empty slate, right? Let's put something into our products, right? So I'm going to add some product, really simple text. Actually, I'm going to add. So I'm going to use my index. So first of all, I'm going to import Faker. Faker is a really great library, to create fake data. So say suppose I need fake names, fake company name, some of the images, I can use Faker for that. And I'm going to import Faker from Faker. And now I'm going to create a new variable here, not const one. I'll say product string. So I'm going to create some products using my Faker library. So I'm going to run a for loop. Let yes I is equals to 0 less than, maybe I'll generate 5 products and I plus plus. Now I'm going to add some products into my product string. So I'm going to use my tilde, this template string syntax of JavaScript, and I'm going to add some product using faker dot commerce dot product name. So I'm going to use product name. This is a function. So this is going to create some products, but I want to have some divs also, some wrapper around it. So I'm going to use div here. And so basically I'm generating the HTML string with the help of Faker library with some fake products. So I'm going to have this way, I'm going to have my product string. And now if you remember, right, I have created this div, the product list div, and this product list is I'm going to use to render all of this product string. So I'm going to say document dot query selector, and I'm going to target that ID of product list, and I'm going to say inner HTML is equals to product string. I'm just using all of this for example, maybe in real world you're going to write this code in a different way. So I've just created the product string and I'm putting it into my product list div. And I think if I go back to my application now and if I refresh, okay, I don't see the product list here. Maybe we need to do some debugging here. So product list dot inner HTML. Okay, so I just realized I did a typo here. If you see here, right, I'm using this n 3 times. I mean, okay, so I think, sorry about that. I think I should have used inner HTML and now I see the text. That's a silly mistake, I would say, but it happens, when you're writing something. So I'm going to change it to product list. So we don't need any double quote or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to convert this into single quotes, product list, inner HTML, and I'm going to put my product string here. So product string, and let me see if I have the product list here. Yes, I have the product. I need to change it to product list. Now if I save and go back, voila, woohoo, finally we are able to see our products rendered. So if I refresh, it's going to generate random products and we are able to see random products here. I'm going to remove this console.log also because it's working fine. So that was a silly typo I did in my code, and that's why our products were not getting rendered, and finally I got it. Okay, so I think we are ready with our products micro front end, right? So if you see here, right, separate team. Say suppose there is a team number 1 who is working on the product module. Now they can write their own code inside this index.js. Let them do whatever they want to do with the products, and they can work on this product micro front end separately. Now let's move on. And if you want to take a quick pause here, I would suggest take a quick pause, come back, and we are going to work on the next micro frontend app that is called card. So I'm going to create a card module and then, or a card micro frontend, and then we will move on and we'll create the container. So take a quick pause, come back, and we'll work on the card micro frontend. Welcome back. Now our product micro frontend is ready. Now we will move on and so you can see here, right, I can refresh and I can show the products. Now we will move on to the step 2, right? We are done with the creating product micro frontend. Now we will move on and create the cart micro frontend. And to do that, we are not going to do it from scratch actually. So I'm just going to copy and paste my products micro frontend so that I should have that package.json and the webpack file, right, already configured. But I would highly suggest, if you're practicing by yourself, you create it from the scratch. That will give you a good hands-on, and through repetition, you can build the muscle memory also. So I'm just going to copy and paste this products just to save time, and it's going to copy everything, that those node modules and everything actually. Or maybe I'm going to move it to bin. Basically, maybe I'm going to create a new folder called card, because I wanted to show you one important step here. And I'm going to copy some of the files from here, right? So let me copy package.json, public, source, webpack. Only these files only I'm going to copy, and I'll paste inside card. Now we need to do some changes, right, inside my package.json files. I'll go back to my code editor, and you will be able to see the cart module here, right? This is my microfront. So I have public and I have the index.html file here. So I'm just going to change this to cart, and this ID I'm going to change cart list. So I'm just going to make it cart list because it's going to have the list of products. Next, I will move on and do the changes in my package.json. So I'm going to change the name to cart, and then webpack sub, I'm going to keep it. We need all of these dependencies, right? The same dependencies. And inside my config, I need this development. I'm going to change it to 3002 because I want to run my cart micro frontend on separate port, because we can't run two application at one port actually. So public, this is looking good. So I think that's it. The cart is ready. I'm just going to jump into this folder actually. So I'm going to open cart in a new terminal. So we have our products running separate in a separate tab. I've opened cart in a separate tab. And first I'm going to run npm install, because we need to install all the dependencies for my cart micro frontend. So if I go back here, right, inside this, these are all the dev dependencies which I need to install. So let it install, and it's going to take some time. Okay, I think we have our dependencies installed. I can straight away go ahead and run npm start, and it should start my cart module or cart micro frontend basically in the in separate tab. Okay, but my cart is going to have different code, right? So if I go inside my source, right, you see here, right, I have copied and pasted the product micro frontend. That's why I have this code, but I want to get away from this code. So I'm going to remove some of the code from here, or maybe let's start from scratch. So let's remove the entire code till here. I'm going to keep the faker library here. Okay, let's create a const, and this time I'm going to have a cart string. So cart string will be the name of this const, and I'm going to keep, now I'm going to create this HTML string using my template string syntax. So I'm going to say you have, and let's use faker here. So I'll say faker dot data type. So there is something called data type, where using data type I can generate some numbers, and I can generate numbers in the range. So this number is actually going to give that range, right? So 1 to 20 it's going to generate, or maybe 0 to 20. So you have items in your cart. So this is just a message, I want to show. We are not going to add anything from product to the cart. We're just going to show to the user that you have this many items in your cart. So this is my cart string. Now I'm going to target that document.query selector, and I'm going to target my cart list element inside my index.html. So inside my cart, I have this cart list element, which I'm targeting here. And I'll say this time I'm going to write only inner HTML, not in or something. I've written 3 times, right? And I'm going to give it a card string. Save, go back, and I'm going to run the application now because it got automatically refreshed. If you see here, right? A cart is running. It got built automatically. It's running on port 3002. I'm going to just change it to 3002. See that? You have 13 items in your cart. Simple, right? So the cart micro front end is ready. I made it fast, just to save time just by copying and pasting. And our product is running on a separate port 3001. Cart is running on 3002. So we have two different micro front ends running at different tabs. So two different teams, they keep continue to work on these two different applications, and their work is running in parallel. They're working on different features, right? And both the micro front ends are going good. Now we need a container, right? Because product and cart, they can't stand alone. I mean, we can work them on alone, but we need to bring them together. And that's the step 3 of our micro frontend app, I would say, right? So we need to create a container micro frontend for product and cart so that we can bring in product and cart together at one place. So let's do that. I'm going to follow the same strategy here. I'll go back, and this time I'm going to copy, maybe I'll create a new folder basically. So I'm going to create a container, and inside container, I will copy package until here, right? All of these files I'm going to move inside a container. And I'll go back to my code editor, and you see here, right? So I have now, scroll up, I have cart, I have container also. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my package.json file. I'm going to change it to container. I'll keep index webpack, and here I'm not going to use faker. I don't need faker inside my container because I have been using faker in my product and cart, but I don't need it inside my container. But I would need all of this: webpack, webpack CLI, webpack dev server. So I'm going to keep like that. I'll go back to source, and I'm just going to remove everything from here, and I'll just put a console.log of container. And inside my public, I have index.html. I'm going to call it shopping, not shipping, shopping, shopping app. Let's call it shopping app. And now I have a cart list here, right? But I need both the divs. And first of all, I'm going to remove this div. I'm going to have let's have an empty. So for now, we are going to keep it empty. I mean, I don't want to have anything inside my container. I tell you what we are going to add here inside this HTML file. So I think the container looks ready, and I have this one, but I need to go back to my where is the package.json file. It's running webpack server. I'll go back to my config file, and this time I'm going to run my container on 3000 port, because on 3001 product is running, on 3002 cart is running, right? And everything else I'm going to keep as it is. Now let's run the container. So for that, I need to open my container inside a separate terminal tab. So I'm going to do that. And first of all, we need to do the npm install so that we should have the dependencies in place. Cool. So, and I'm going to say npm start so that my container will start on port number 3000. I'm going to run my container here now. So let's say localhost 3000. You won't be able to see anything on the screen, but if I go to my console, see that a container is running. So we have our product micro-frontend, cart micro-frontend, and container, or a shell ready for product and cart. So let's move on to the interesting and very, 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 very important step called how to plug or how to get product and cart into our shopping app, right? And for that, we're going to use something called a module federation plugin. And this is part of webpack. Actually, webpack has brought in this plugin, in the version called, I think the version which I'm using, maybe before that version. So you need to have a latest version of Webpack, maybe above 5.4 or something. Then only you're going to the have the feature of module federation plugin available. And we are going to do it step by step. So we are going to import. So there are 5 different steps here, and we will do it and we'll understand. So first, step 1 is import module federation plugin. So I'll start with product. So first of all, I want to make product and card available to the container, and then container is going to use my product and card micro frontends. So I'll go back to my product, and where is my product? This one, products, and inside products I'm going to go into webpack.config. So this is where we need to do all those configuration. But to do those configuration, first of all I need to bring in module federation plugin. So I'm going to say module federation plugin, and I'm going to say require. I'm going to import the module federation plugin first. Module federation plugin has a has some path, right? So I need to use that path. So it's inside webpack /lib /container /module federation plugin. So you need to remember this path, or you maybe like I have created these notes, right? So I've kept it here. You can copy and paste also. But if you can remember, that's really good. So we have our module federation plugin now. Let's configure this. Let's configure our product using module federation plugin. So I'm going to say, go into the plugins array, say module federation plugin, and obviously we are going to configure it to an object. Here I need to remember. So this is step 2. Configure MFE microfrontend in Webpack configuration. So these are some of the properties you need to remember. So first of all, we're going to give it a name. So name of my microfrontend would be products. Then which file I'm basically the name of the file which container is going to use. Now you can give it any name. So we use a file name property for that. So it's a name of the file which will be imported inside the container. So this is a standard practice, we give remote entry.js as a file name. You can give it any name, but I would suggest to give this name. And the third property that we are going to expose is exposes property, where we want the code to be exported and can be used by the container. So you can have multiple files exported, from your product micro frontend. Right now, I'm just exposing my index.js file. That's the container of my product, right? Product micro frontend. So we just need to use some name value pair here. So this ./product index, this is what I'm going to use inside the container. And what product index is basically exposing, it's exposing ./source. And inside that source, we have the index.js file. So let's do the configuration. So first of all, name, let's give it a name of products. Next is a file name, and remember that the n is small in file name. So we do this mistake while configuring micro frontends. So file name will be the standard name of remote entry.js. And the last property that I'm going to use is exposes, which is an object. So you can expose multiple files. Right now I'm going to expose only product index. This is the name. And which file I want to expose? I want to expose my source index or index.js. Right? And you see here, right, inside my source, I have the index.js, and this is my product. This is where I'm creating all the products, and that's what I am exposing here. So this simple configuration, the simple configuration can expose or can make your product micro frontend or the files or the code related to product micro frontend available inside a container. But it won't be available automatically if you need to do the second configuration. That's the step 3. So use micro frontend inside a container or a shell. And for that, again, we are going to use module federation plugin, We're going to give it a name. So name, we don't need name in case of container basically, but it's a good practice to give the name to the container also. So name of the container, and then we are going to configure the remotes, and remotes are nothing but our other micro frontends, which or child micro frontends, which I want to bring into my container or my parent, right? So include MFEs to use, and this is a standard, right? Some of the standard, this products. So this is actually that name, this name we are using, right? So this name at the rate HTTP localhost 3001, because my product micro frontend is running at 3001 port. So we need to give that URL, and this remote entry.js is nothing but this file name, which I have given here. That's why I told you, right? You can give it any name. You can give it product.js or maybe something else. But let's follow the standard convention of remote entry.js. So let's do the step 3. We'll use our micro frontend inside a container. And for that, I need to go inside my container. And somehow I need to close this one, I think. Okay. I'll go into container webpack config.js. And again, first we need to bring in our module federation plugin. Module federation plugin require, and it's inside webpack /lib /container /module federation plugin. Okay, so I have my module federation plugin. I'll go inside my plugins, new module federation plugin. Let's do the configuration. The first one is name, and name I'm going to give it a name container. And this time I'm not going to expose anything, but I'm going to consume something, right? So that's why we use a property called remotes. So I'm just configuring the remotes, right? And there can be multiple remotes which you need to configure. That's why we are using the object. And again, we're going to have the name value pair. So I'm going to have a product is a products, right? So products, this is the name of my remote, and it's inside products at the rate http:// my product is running at 3001 port, and I want the remote entry.js file. So hopefully a product is available to us, but I need to go ahead and restart my webpack or my application basically. So this is my product. I'm going to just say restart it. Okay, npm start. So this is my product. So product is running at 3001. I need to go back to my container, and I need to restart my container also. So let me clear the console. I'll say npm start. And container is also running. Now if I go back and refresh my shopping apps, you see that the server responded with 404 webpack dev server. Let me try to refresh it again. So you see here, right? And if I go to network tab, you won't see anything because I didn't do the configuration, the entire configuration, right? So nothing is going to happen. Let's go back to our step number 4, right? So we are done with only step number 3. So we have our remotes configured now. We need to import the micro frontends, right? So we need to import the micro frontend inside my index.js file of the container. So to do that, I'm going to write just these are the simple statement, right? So I'm going to import products. So products, this products I'm using / product index. So from this remote entry file, I have exposed. So if I go back to my code actually, and if I go back to webpack config or products, so this is the file, right? This name I'm going to use. So products, this is the name, and this is the file name, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'll go back to my notes to just show you. So we are going to import first products and product index, and then cart and cart index. So we haven't configured cart yet. So let's import our MFEs. I'll go back to container. This is my container, and inside my index.js, I'll keep this console for now. I'm going to say just import products slash product. See that product index. I'll save. And now if I go back, so I did a write products product index, and we need to do the last step also, right? We need to do the bootstrapping basically. So, but if I go back to my application, let me see if it is working, right? So now if I refresh, I don't see anything because, and probably I'm getting an error, right? Cannot read properties of undefined reading call, because this bootstrapping is a really important step where, I'm going to take this part, so basically I'm going to rename, or maybe I'll create a new file. Let's start from the scratch. Actually, I'll create a new file called bootstrap.js, and I'm going to move this import from here, so control X, to this bootstrap.js. So we need to give some time to Webpack, to load all of these files in the background. Once those files are loaded, then we can actually run the code inside our MFE, like the product MFE or cart MFE. So in this case, I'm importing the index.js file of my product MFE, right? But my products file, that remote entry.js, is not loaded yet, right? And I'm trying to execute its code, and that's not going to happen. That's why we need to do this bootstrapping, and this is a really important and the fifth step of our creating MFEs, right? So now I'll go back. Now I need to import this bootstrap.js, but I'm going to use a special syntax for that. I'm not going to say import space and then the double quotes. I'm going to use the import function, and with this import function, I'll import the bootstrap.js file. Now if I save, and fingers crossed, hopefully if I refresh now, cannot set property of null, that's okay. This is a different error, and I'll come back to this error. But now we will go into the network panel, and now you see, right? We are getting so many files loaded here, right? So previously this wasn't the case. So this is my main.js. So, or maybe I'll close this one. So this is coming from my 3000 port, right? So this is my main.js, which is inside the dist folder. So if I go back to my container, inside my container also, it has built, actually that dist folder is not available here. I need to run webpack, and so that it will create that folder. So this main.js is from the container. This remote entry.js, the file name which we have given, I'll go back to products here, right? If I go back here, right? This remote entry.js we have given, and this is coming from the products micro-frontend. See the port number, right? Then this is the main source file of my, this is my source file of my container. And then if you see here, this is vendor. So this is basically bringing in the faker.js. So it contains the faker related code, and this is my product index file. So the remote entry is a file which has been generated by Webpack, which contains the information about this source, the product index, which is getting loaded here. So basically, if you don't want to get into the details, just understand that our micro-frontends are getting loaded, and our product index, this source index file is getting loaded, so that we can execute the code which is written inside my products. So this code basically. Now this code is actually getting executed once this remote entry.js file is loaded, and then this index.js file is also getting loaded into the browser, and this code is getting executed line by line. So it says, okay, product string equals to empty. Then it's running this loop, and it's creating this product string values. And now when my code is trying to do a query on the DOM, and it's trying to find the product list, it's getting this error. Cannot set property of null inner HTML. Why? Because I don't have this product list div or element available inside my container. So I'll go back to my container and index.html file, and I'm going to create that div here. with the ID of product list. Now, if I save, and now if I go back to my container, see that localhost 3000, this is my container, and I'm just going to put some heading here just to differentiate, shopping app, and I'm going to save. See that? See the beauty of micro front end? We are getting our products, which is coming from products, right? Product micro front end inside our container. That's the beauty. This is the beauty. You can create separate application and bring into the container. Now I'm feeling excited because my product micro front end is working and it has been imported inside my container. Now let's go to the next step, the final step where we need to configure our cart micro front end. So I'll go back to my webpack config and let's import the module federation plugin, and I'll say require, and I know the path, webpack lib container module federation plugin. Okay, let's configure it. New module federation plugin. Let's give it a name of cart, and let's have a file name of, so you can use the same name. This is a standard way, so I'm going to give it a name of remote entry. That there is no problem, giving the same name for this file name also. So I'm going to give it same name, remote entry.js, and let's expose something. So we're going to expose our cart index, and which is going to expose this file, src index. So now I'm exporting, or now I'm exposing inside my cart. Basically, let's come back to our cart, this source, this index.js file, which is going to execute this code inside my micro frontend, or inside my container, basically, right? So we are done with the exposing part. Now let's bring this into our container. So now if I go back to my container, webpack.config, where is my container? I need to find out first. So my container here, I need to go back here, and first I need to configure the remote, and I'm going to do that using I'll say cart, and here I'm going to say cart @http://local host : my cart is running on port number 3002, and I'm going to import the same file, remote entry.js. Let me check if I have any typos. Cart http localhost 3002 remote entry.js. So this is how I'm bringing in my remotes into my container. But the final step that we need to do is inside bootstrap.js. I'm going to import my cart / cart index.js. I'll save, but it's not going to bring the cart. It's going to throw an error if I go back. See, because I need to recompile my application first. So let's do that. So I'll go back to my cart basically first. I'll stop the application. I'll start the application, the cart one, because I did some changes inside my webpack file. And I'll go back to my container also. I'll stop the container and I'll say npm start, and this should bring my container up. Now if I go back and refresh, see that cannot set properties of null in our HTML because we don't have. If I go back to my code of cart, right, inside my cart source index.js, I don't have cart list inside my container, that HTML node, right? So we'll go back here, index.html, and I'm going to create that div called cart list. And now I'm going to put some horizontal ruler basically. And now if I go back, you see the magic. You see the magic of micro frontend. You see, you're right. I have this product micro frontend on the top, and I have my cart micro frontend at the bottom. which has been divided using this horizontal rule. Now I can refresh. And let's see, I mean, if I do any changes, probably, let's try to do some changes, and I'll go back to my product basically. First of all, I'll go back to my product index.js, or maybe let's try to do changes inside this HTML file. I don't like that actually. Okay. And I'm going to put some H2 here. Let's do this. I'm getting excited actually. I want to do some experimentation. And I'll say product list. And now if I refresh, I want to see what happens. Okay. So if I come to product, I'm seeing the product list. But if I come back to shopping list, I don't see the product list maybe. Let's come back and refresh. Okay, we don't see. So I think I need to restart my product in that case. So I'll go back to my product and I'll restart it, npm start. And now if I go back to my container, refresh. Okay, probably I need to restart my container also. So let's go back to my container. Again, say npm start. Okay, I think it's not showing because that index.html is at different place. I got it. Okay, so I need to do changes inside my index.js basically. Let's try to do that. Let me go back to my product. Where is my product? Okay, I'll go back to my index.js and I'm going to do some changes here. So what changes I can do here, because that index.html is not exported. I got it. But I can do some changes inside my code. Probably let's generate more product. Maybe let's generate 10 products. I'm going to save. And now if I go back to my container, let's see if I see the changes. Voila. Woohoo. I mean, this is really exciting. I can see that I'm doing the changes inside my product and see that those changes are available and automatically without restarting my server, they're available here inside my container also. I mean, this is beautiful. I'm getting excited now that how the micro frontend work, So see, the product team is doing some changes. They are releasing their changes and automatically those changes are getting available inside my container. So both teams, they're working separately and things are getting available inside the container automatically. This is really beautiful and exciting about micro frontend. Okay, so I think we did a lot of hard work. We put a lot of hard work. This might be a long video. We started with modules. I covered about micro frontend. We can convert modules into micro frontend, where different engineering teams can work on different modules or micro frontend. I would say, like, someone is working on product, one team is working on product micro frontend, second team is working on cart micro frontend, and the another team is working on the container micro frontend, so that we can have a separate CI/CD pipeline for our different micro frontend. And we have seen, like, we have created product micro frontend, cart micro frontend, container micro frontend, and finally we have used our magic wand, right? This module federation plugin, step by step, configuring the MFE using Webpack, right? Then importing those MFEs inside our container. And we did a very important step of bootstrapping. Cool. So I see my application is running, my shopping app is running, and my micro frontend is running. I'm going to stop here. I think I tried to cover a lot of ground. This is more of an introduction to micro frontend, I would say. There's a lot to learn in micro frontend. I have just touched the surface, but I think this will give you a very good background about micro frontend. You know how to create micro frontend, so go ahead and experiment. Think of creating some multiple modules, right, and then convert them into micro frontend, or maybe take the example of your existing application in your company, right? You might be having some modules and you see the opportunity to converting them into micro frontend. Do the experimentation, do the practice, do the hands-on, because watching this video is not going to help. Coding is really important. So with that, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to say goodbye to you, and you take care.